I want to go to Cory Booker. Cory Booker has just given a 24-hour, 20-minute speech in the Senate. It is not a filibuster. It's not a filibuster because there was no bill or legislation up for them to impede. He was just up there performing. It was like a concert. This is a little bit of what Cory Booker was saying, just so you would hear it. I mean, it was effectively a 24-hour diatribe against Donald Trump. It was the longest diatribe in congressional history. He beat Strom Thurmond. Okay, fair enough. But again, purely theatrical. No political value. There wasn't any legislation. There wasn't anything he was trying to impede. He was just running his mouth for 24.
To remove great people, and now it's our generation. We have to redeem the dream. We have to excite people again. He, in the highest office of our land, wants to divide us against ourselves, wants to make us afraid, wants to make us fear so much that we're willing to violate people's fundamental rights. We're willing to go after the speech on college campuses. We're willing to go after law firms, go after the freedom of the press. Don't let him do that. Don't become like him. Be an American that says, I look to the future and I'm excited. Yes, things are tough right now. They're hard, they're scary, they're hurting, but we can overcome this. Our American history, if it's nothing else, American history, if it's nothing else, it is a perpetual testimony to the achievement of impossible things against impossible odds. We are a nation that is great, not because of the people that are trying to whitewash our history. To remove great people, Native Americans, Black people, and women from our military websites. I don't want a Disneyfication of our history. I don't want to whitewash history. I don't want to homogenize history. Tell me the wretched truth about America, because that speaks to our greatness. And so what do I want people to do? It starts with us, man, and you're doing it. I've seen courage of my colleagues. We're doing it, but we have to do more, and I'm sorry. I'm not going to be a politician that's going to say, we are going to do more for you. I'm going to be a politician. I'm going to be a leader that demands more from America.
For one last question.
I yield for a question while retaining the floor.
Well,
Performative bullshit. Performative bullshit. Again, it's not a filibuster. There was no legislation on the floor. There was nothing that Cory Booker was impeding with that 24-hour diatribe. He was just out there going after Trump, which is fine. What he said wasn't entirely false. I would point out, though, that Joe Biden was also going after those campuses. He had zero issue doing so. And to make it even worse, Nina Jankowicz, under Joe Biden was trying to create a ministry of truth with a censorship regime in order to eliminate points of view that he didn't particularly like on the issues of the war or issues of his own policy. Hunter Biden laptop being another good example of that. And to make it even worse, I got fired under Joe Biden. Because, again, it wasn't that I was saying anything false. They just didn't like the fact that I was saying it at all. So don't give me this nonsense about, Trump is for censorship. You guys are just for different types of censorship. Let's get that straight. Also, I would like to point out, Bernie Sanders put out a bill in order to stop the funding of Israel to the tune of $8.8 billion in weapons. 15 senators voted to cancel billions in Israeli aid. This bill obviously didn't pass. Cory Booker voted for the money to go to Israel, obviously, because Cory Booker has gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, from Israel. Cory Booker is standing here after that speech with a war criminal, Gallant. That's Booker standing with somebody who has an ICC arrest warrant hanging over his head. arm in arm, buddy buddy. Cory Booker approves of this.
نساء مجزرة أطفال نساء الوضع هنا صعب.
These are the things that Cory Booker approves of. Don't give me this shit. This performative nonsense. If you can't stand up against what is obviously a genocide, then I don't really give a shit what else you have to say to me. All of this performative stuff is nice. I don't want the Disney version of American history. Okay, well, what about current reality that we're in now, where you are sending billions of dollars to a government that is slaughtering the population, and you are standing arm in arm with a war criminal after you give this nonsense 24-hour performative theater? Yeah, that same Cory Booker. Cory Booker is perfectly okay with people being slaughtered and murdered in mass. Cory Booker will go out and vote for that slaughter and murder of those people in mass. I don't care if Cory Booker stands up and gives a performative theatrical speech going after Donald Trump. Is Donald Trump grotesque? Yes. Is Cory Booker grotesque for backing a genocide? Yes. Also, yes. Him and Donald Trump have the exact same position on the issue of Gaza, or for that matter, the issue of the Middle East. Cory Booker will bend over and lick the nuts of Netanyahu if they tell him to do so. That is how in the pan Cory Booker is. I wouldn't be shocked if in this he was fondling Gallant's testicles just because Gallant asked him to do so, just to see if he would do it. Cory, I need you to lick my ass. You really need me to do it? Yes, Cory, I paid you money to do it. Do it, Cory. Do it. Lick my ass. And I would imagine there's an image somewhere of Cory Booker licking Gallant's ass. Wouldn't be shocked. Wouldn't be shocked in the least. And yes, he would do it. He would do it. That's how in the tank for Israel, for the Zionist lobby that Cory Booker is. He is full of shit. I don't give a shit about his theatrical performances. What I care about is the fact that he is backing fully a genocide, just like the rest of the Democratic Party. Tanisha Coates, he came out with a post, and what he pointed out was, he says, is it really any wonder that the Democratic Party seemed to have no resistance to Donald Trump when they really had no resistance to a genocide either? I think Tanisha Coates is right. I think he's completely right. So yeah, Cory Booker is full of shit. I don't care about his theatrical performance. I don't care about him doing a diatribe for 24 hours. I don't care. It's not a filibuster. He's not doing anything to prevent anything from taking place. It is worthless theater. Worthless theater. There's some goofballs on Twitter who's like, oh my God, Cory Booker is standing up for America. Shut up. He's not. I'm sorry, he's not. He's not. He's not doing anything for you. He's not doing anything for me. He's not doing anything for America. The Democratic Party is in a position where people are very angry at the party because they believe that the party isn't doing shit for them, and believes that they need to be stronger on the issue of standing up against Trump. Okay, so if you have no political power, if you have no substance in regards to things that you actually believe in and stand up for, if somebody said, what does the Democratic Party stand for? Nobody would know. Nobody could give an answer to that in earnest. So what do? What do you have? Performance. You dance. You move, you dance, you gyrate. You try to make people think that something is actually taking place when in reality nothing is taking place. And the few lemmings that you have on social media or what else, they say, oh my God, Cory Booker stood up for 24 hours and 20 minutes. Oh my God, he's standing up for America. That's amazing. They're not in the know. It's performative. It's theater. It's designed purely to give a look as if something is happening, because there's a lot of energy and movement around, and Cory Booker is flailing around. But to what end? What was accomplished? In real world, physical matter reality terms, what was accomplished? Short of Cory Booker dehydrating himself and holding his bladder for a very long time. It was nonsensical. Sure, it might have been entertaining for a bit, but what was the value? There wasn't. Again, it wasn't even holding up a piece of legislation. It was just Cory Booker taken to the floor to mouth off against Trump for 24 hours and 20 minutes. Completely worthless, pointless theater. That's what it was. Just like, God, man, they're worthless. That political party is worthless. And if they end up in a permanent minority position, they have fundamentally earned it. Now, the key catch here is they may actually win in the midterms, not for anything that they're doing, but for how bad Donald Trump is. Understand what Donald Trump, he wants at the same time, a grotesque tax cut. So he wants that. He wants that at the exact same time that they've been destroying Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, laying off tens of thousands of workers. And on top of that, has initiated a trade war with the rest of the world. So not only have you put markets in free fall and put all of this question marks or uncertainty around US policy in regards to trade and in regards to other countries, but you're also now trying to get a grotesque tax cut on top of that that will go to the top 1% more than anybody else, meaning you have put a lot of balls in the air simultaneously. And some of those are not being perceived well by the American public. Again, the firing of workers is not perceived well by the American public. The destruction of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, not perceived well by the American public. The grotesque tax cuts that most likely will come down will most likely not be perceived well by the American public. The increased costs that Americans are going to have to pay are not going to be perceived well by the American public. None of these things are positive. None of these things are what people necessarily voted for. All of these things is what Trump is delivering. All of these things are what Trump's delivering. One last point on a separate topic. Negotiations. If you've noticed, the Trump administration has become very desperate on the issue of trying to get negotiations with Russia. Now, in that desperation of them trying to get negotiations with Russia, there's been a report that has come out. Well, I guess there are two things. One, Trump's envoy came to the US. Now, this envoy, where is it? So right here. This is what he reported, that Russia and the US are effectively trying to restore relations. Now, Putin's envoy in this case, Kirill Dmitriev, I believe the name is, he is something like an investment person for Russia. He says this in response to, well, basically taking questions.
Here with the key officials in the Trump administration, one of the key topics was restoring relations between Russia and America, restoring the dialogue that was stopped during the Biden administration and by the Biden administration. We see that a lot of actors from different countries are trying to undermine, to thwart this dialogue, the restoring of Russia-US relations. They're trying to prevent us from addressing and resolving the issues that must be solved.
He is right. There are many countries that are trying to avoid or at the least undercut negotiations that are taking place. But Trump and his team seems to be under a lot of pressure to get something going in regards to negotiations. But bumbling Trump is not necessarily doing this all that well. And to make it even worse, his team is effectively saying, we don't want another call between Donald Trump and Putin until the Kremlin agrees for a ceasefire. This is nonsense. I'm telling you right off the bat, this is nonsense, right? For one, the deal that they came up with the first time around, meaning the 30-day ceasefire, Ukraine hasn't honored it at all. And not just Ukraine hasn't honored that deal, they have been violating it almost as an FU to Trump for even going with the deal in the first place. The Trump administration hasn't said anything about it, hasn't had any condemnation of the fact that they've been violating the deal. So why on earth would Russia accept a ceasefire without any preconditions to the ceasefire? You haven't been living up to the last ceasefire. Why would they accept a ceasefire? Now, understand, from the Russian point of view, we're winning on the battlefield. The Ukraine military will collapse in a few months at some point. Why would we stop? We're getting everything that we want. We are completing the mission and objective of the special military operation. That is what we're going to do. We're going to keep moving up until the point where the Ukrainian military collapses, even if that means we need to go to Kiev. Now, we don't want to take West Ukraine, but we will if we have to. Now, the key point to all of this is they're open for negotiations. The catch is, are they going to get what they want? If Trump gives them what they want, fair enough. We can have these talks. And Putin's main condition is, if we have a ceasefire, you cannot give them additional weapons. And on top of not giving them additional weapons, you need to stop giving them intelligence, stop giving them support, and maybe we can come to some kind of terms, in which case we call it a day. If you're not going to do that, then what's the point in us agreeing to a ceasefire? The thought that we accept a ceasefire and you load Ukraine with weapons, intelligence, money, etc., is nonsense. It's a non-starter. If Trump's team doesn't know that and doesn't understand that, the negotiations are going to go nowhere. There is nothing that the U.S. can do from the battlefield to change the context of events. Zero. If you want to go to nuclear war, fair enough. But short of you going to nuclear war, there is nothing that you can do. It's not an issue of tariffs. It's not an issue of any of that stuff that is going to change any of that stuff. Russia's been sanctioned to the hilt. You've even taken them off the SWIFT system. You've shot your load. So the catch becomes, if this team really is on this point of view that we don't want to have another conversation with Putin until they accept the ceasefire, then I guess you won't be having another conversation with Putin at all. All of this completely repudiates everything Donald Trump was saying on the campaign trail. And all of this means that fundamentally, in a foreign policy sense, Trump is failing miserably. He has no wins on an international standpoint. He is bombing Yemen. He's gone back on his word in regards to the issue of Israel in Gaza, meaning he's repudiated that deal. He knew Israel completely violated that deal. He didn't do anything about it. In fact, he gave Israel a pass as they violated the deal. And in the ceasefire with Ukraine, he's doing the exact same thing. Russia already doesn't trust you. Why would they trust you after you've entirely violated your own deals in multiple occasions, not to mention the JCPOA, where you've effectively blown off? I hope you get my point. Trump is not a trustworthy actor under any circumstances. So why would Russia or any other country trust Trump with anything? And they've made it very clear. You get nothing from us unless we get something from you. And we are no longer playing this game where we trust anybody in the West for anything. That is doubly so for Trump. This is a poor article. And I don't mean poor article in the sense that it was poorly written. Parts of it is. I'm pointing out that if what his team is telling Trump, and if Trump is actually accepting what his team is saying, then nothing is going to take place on the issue of negotiations. Negotiations have fundamentally stalled. I would say that this gentleman here, he makes a point. He doesn't bring up the war. He just says restore diplomatic ties. He says nothing about ending the war.